All right, welcome to CFI After Dark. I'm the Pet Man Matt Morrow. This is the Week 7 post-game show, and we've got a lot of interesting things to talk about tonight. I feel like I've been saying that a lot the past few weeks, but this was really the first week that everyone was kind of into conference play. We had a lot of non-conference games, obviously early in the season, but now we're really starting to see where teams are kind of settling in. This is where your money is made. You want to get to the playoffs, you got to win conference games. Tonight, we went across the border to South Carolina and we went checked out York at Indian Land, and York won this game 28-20. It was a very emotional game. There were a lot of flags on both sides. I saw something really unusual where the head referee pulled both teams together on the field at one point and talked to them and tried to maintain control of the game. But there were, personal foul penalties. There were unsportsmanlike penalties. Um, but eventually the game really kind of settled down in the fourth quarter. And that's where York was able to take control. Young man Aiden Davis had two rushing touchdowns. We got those both on Twitter and tagged the young man in those. Very impressive athlete for York. And that was really what put them over the top. Indian Land got the ball back with about a minute left. Couldn't put a drive together and ended up throwing an interception that sealed the game. So it was a big win for York to go to 5-1 on the season, while Indian Land falls to 4-2 on the season. I think they're both good teams in that region, and that's a tough region they're in. So that game was really, really critically important to get on the board and get a win. So it was nice to step down into South Carolina. Indian Land has a beautiful new stadium. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check out a game there. I told the AD, Vernon Hunter, who is on the Queen City Senior Bowl board of directors, I said, we're going to have a camp here. It's an incredible, incredible looking facility. Just awesome stuff. And it's beautiful to see. And we've seen that across, South Carolina on how their facilities really support, all of their athletes. So kudos to them. So make sure you post your scores in your comments. As I say every week on CFI After Dark, this is your show. What you post is what we'll talk about. And then, of course, we'll go through some scores. I've got the Max Prep score ticker up this week, and we'll use that and kind of go through there when time allows. So we've got a few comments posted. Let's see here. I got to give you an award. I got to give you an award, Kim, because I mean you are like literally the first comment every week. I mean it's great. It's great. Um, but how did POB do? I feel like I asked you that last week too. I know they played RG Kill tonight. I think RG Kill was up pretty big in that one. So um I see your comment there. Um, but yeah, what's the give me that score. Okay, well they lost. Okay, all right. Well, we'll leave it at that. All right. Appreciate it, Kim. Jada Connect, another unusual. Dudley boys. It was personal, 77-6. Oh my gosh. Wow, that's Dudley over Smith, rival. Oh wow. Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know what's said up there. But obviously, um, all right. But Dudley is very impressive. We talked about that. We talk about it every week on the show. And I think that's an interesting point of reference because we're going to talk about another team in 3A here in just a minute. And we're going to have to discuss some things about that because Dudley was very impressive in their game. And then another 3A team, some talking points. Chat administrator coming in. Mooresville with a dominant 42-0 win over Providence. Thankfully, no stress. Yeah. I mean, I think this is a really impressive win for Mooresville. This win to me kind of asserts them in the conversation that we'll have to discuss on where they are in the pecking order as far as 4A goes, because I felt like this game, had a chance to be competitive, and Mooresville said no. And I mean, a shutout over Providence is really, really strong. I mean, even Butler didn't shut Providence out. We were there last week. So, impressive stuff right there for the Blue Devils. And I saw your tweets about Brody Norman, and I forget the other young man, but I'll go back and look at my Twitter and see who you shouted out as having great performances in that game. Great job to the Blue Devils for sure. Family, what's up, Jerron? Good to see you, man. And this is the one I want to talk about. Damon Allen coming in. Crest 61-49 over South Point. Now, Joe Hughes was there. And I'm sure we'll talk about it on Wednesday when he's on the show. But and I want to pull his tweet up because I believe South Point was up 35-14 in this game at one point. And one of the things we talked about on the show was we felt like, Crest was really going to be focused because of the last history with South Point. And, some people felt like, Crest was going to walk the dog with them. But on the other side, we had kind of conflicting viewpoints because, South Point is really good at what they do as far as running the ball. And if they're able to run the ball and control possession, then it was going to be a 4-quarter game. And that's what this was. And then Chris had to come back, to win this game. And, I think it brings in, to some question, how well can that Crest defense hold up, once they get into the playoffs and they start facing opponents that might be able to slow down their, offense a little bit. Now, Crest is built, obviously, to do really well offensively, especially against South Point. It's always been their Achilles heel is stopping a team that can really throw the football. So I'm not surprised to see, Crest score, like they did. But it was surprising to see South Point have so much success in a year that some people were saying that they're not as dominant as they usually are running that, option attack that they run. So once again, like we talk about when it gets to the playoffs, it's all about matchups. And obviously these teams were bad matchups for each other in terms of offensively versus each other's defense. So we'll dig more into that on the show next week. Chat administrator Lake Norman nailed Brighter over West Cabarrus 26-23. No matter who they play, it seems like they're pulling out these close games over and over and over again. And it's good. It's good to win close games because that shows that, you obviously know how to win in those situations. But if you looked at this on paper, you would say, okay, Lake Norman's going to walk the dog with West Cabarrus. But that's not the case, man. I mean, you got to shout out West Cabarrus for playing well against a really good team. And then Lake Norman finding a way to win, another close game. So congrats to Lake Norman on pulling it out. And we're going to have to really watch, there's some games coming up in this conference that I think are going to be really interesting. And we'll talk about that more. And here's another one, Cox Mill over A.L. Brown, 38-27. This is a really good win for Cox Mill. One of the things we talked about when we previewed this game was I felt like that it was a game to determine who could still be kind of considered in that wild card for the playoffs. I felt like if you won this game, you'd have a pretty good shot to still compete for that. And then if you lost, it would be an uphill battle. So Cox Mill getting it done. Great job, to Coach Breon and his staff up there. And, of course, Coach Billups is a part of that staff, finding a way to win and get it done. And they've got a couple big games coming up. They haven't faced some of the bigger teams in the conference, so to speak, just yet. So they're going to be a team to watch here over the next couple of weeks. Let's see here. Armani Bird checking in, our Clover guy. This is funny. He said, watch out for them Clover boys. They got another. So Joe Hughes every week calls Nation 4 janky when we talk about the South Carolina rankings. And I don't know why, but that's where that comes from. Said they won over them 30-0. You got a picture with Coach Wolf right after. Yeah, good job. That's 4 in a row for Clover. Yeah, they keep moving up our South Carolina rankings. And, they might move up again. I have to look and see where I had them versus York. I know they were really close. So we'll talk about that on the show next week for sure. But great job for, Clover. Good stuff. Chat administrator, Hickory Ridge 50, South Iredale 27. Yeah, so Hickory Ridge getting in the win column again. It's very important for them. They almost are at that point where you got to win every week to look at possibly getting in as a wild card into the playoffs. We'll talk when they fix the RPI. We'll look at it, but they still have teams in the wrong classification. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the RPI determines seeding for the playoffs, and the state puts it out every week. But the first couple of weeks, the RPI has not been accurate because teams that have switched classifications in the offseason are in the wrong classification. So your RPI rankings haven't been accurate. So that's why I haven't referred to them yet. But hopefully the next edition that comes out, they update them and everyone's in the right place. And then we can start looking at where people are in the RPI to give you an idea on where you would be seated if you hypothetically make the playoffs. So you rank your conference champions and then you go from there. As far that's how the seeding works. But we'll get more into that if they're accurate next week. Let's see here. I'm sure he's talking about Butler right here. Butler took on East Mac. I didn't see the final score. We'll go through the scores here on the Max Prep scoreboard here in a little bit. But yeah, I'm sure Butler was able to get that done. Bryce Stober checking in. I'm sure you're related to Hickory quarterback Brady Stober. Hickory 50, St. Stephen 7. Great job. We talked about Hickory when they beat East Lincoln a good bit. Shout out to Coach Glass doing a great job. And Hickory is in the driver's seat for winning that conference. And they're another consideration in 3A when we start looking at seeding and home field and matchups and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Chat administrator says Davey with the 54-41 win at Reagan. Yeah. Davey is very dangerous offensively. Not to the extent with Crest, I would say, but they're kind of a similar team. Very strong offensive team, and then defensively, can they bend and not break enough to win the game? So great job for Davie County to back up the big win that they got with another win tonight over a tough Reagan team. Let's see. Chat administrator, East Lincoln hands West Iredale its first loss, 24-17. Yep. Yeah, I saw West Iredale was winning that game for a while. That would have been a big win for them. But the fact that game was a 4-quarter game and West Iredale led for a good portion of that shows that West Iredale, is credible. I was really watching tonight to see how they would come out. And that's impressive. And now we know East Lincoln has struggled the last, couple weeks, but still, I mean, this was the defending state champions and graduation, losing talent, so forth. So there's still good players on the East Lincoln team. And that's good. That's good for West Iredale. I know you don't want, moral losses and all the moral victories or, well, you know what I'm trying to say. But it's good. It's really good for that program. And we'll see going forward, if they're going to be a factor in that conference race. I know you're happy tonight, Miss Dowd. I thought about you when I saw the score. South Meck, man, moving to 3-0 in the conference. It has literally been a second season for those guys. They've hit the reset button, and they blew out a Palisades team that I felt good about in the preseason. And, they're sitting there. they're in first place. They're in first place in the SOMEC. And you got to shout out Joe Evans, man. And I'll tell you this, man. Joe Evans has been one of the best coaches around in Charlotte. Gosh, how long have I been coaching? At least the last 10 years. And he's doing an awesome job. And to see the transformation in that program from where they were in the pre-conference to where they are now, it's really, really impressive. So you gotta give South Mex some love, man. That's great. That's really great to see. Coach Hunt checking in. Sun Valley 7-0 after a 7-0 win at Cuthbertson. Yeah. This was the game we were initially going to go to, but then I got held up and I got delayed and I had to find a 7:30 start game. That's why we went down to Indian Land. But defensive struggle, man. And they found a way to get it done and go to 7-0. And so Sun Valley, I owe you. We'll figure out when we can see you guys. But I'm gonna see you guys. I promise you, man. Congrats. Chat administrator, I'm gonna hold off on your comment because I want to talk about that separately. Let's see here. Queen School Davidson 43, Carver 20. Hopefully Friday night. Sometimes we have the conference for Friday night and give him a little bit of feedback. Sometimes that happens after the show. So just a little sneak peek into what happens after CFI Football Focus Weekly goes off the air. But nah, good stuff, man. Congratulations to CSD. They are a really good program, doing some great things on the field. Let's see. Damian Jackson coming in. Porter Ridge 35, Marvin Ridge 10. Yeah, we picked this game where everyone picked Porter Ridge, and Porter Ridge went out there and backed it up. So really impressive. It's good to see them bounce back after the loss to Monroe and the bye and play very well. They got some things fixed for the during the bye week and went out there and got a pretty good convincing win, man. Congratulations. Kim, hold your thought on that. I'll come back to that. Karen Belk, Indy 65 guaranteed 0. Indy scored 44 in the first quarter and then just 7 points. Yeah. In those kind of games, yeah, you want to get up early and then you want to rotate. You really want to rotate your starters out because those kind of games are where you want to see what you got in your second team and your third team. A lot of those guys practice so hard and then they don't get a lot of time in the games. And this is a great time, if you get a comfortable lead, you want to put those guys in situations to see how they perform. Because sometimes you'll get players that, they practice a certain way, but then when the Friday night lights come on, they are a whole different player. I'm telling you, one of the best players I ever coached, Jamel Cuthbertson, he was a second string running back. And in practice, he didn't get a lot of time. And then our starter had went down kind of like in his third game of the season. And he goes in there and he rushed for like 150 yards. And then he became one of the best running backs in Harding history. So, yeah, you never know what you got sometimes. When you give them a Friday night spotlight and, they just turn into something else. So, congrats to Independence on the win. And, we've talked about Ganger and their situation. Let's see. Coach Tatum, good morning. It is morning, my gosh. Walkertown got on the board. Okay, beating Moorhead 27-14. Good job, man. Congratulations on that big win, man. I know. Trust me, I've been through those seasons where, you don't have, enough horses to go out there and win every week, and it's a grind. And when you get one, you just want to sit back and relax and just take a breath because it feels like you're just grinding so much, to find a way to get it done. And that's awesome, man. It's good stuff right there. All right. Let's go back to all right, Kim, we'll do this first. I will tell you that I've had people both with Olympic and Palisades beg me to make that JV game of the week. You guys don't understand. When I post suggest or the question on Instagram for those that follow me, every week I post this question, what is the JV game of the week? and I get a million comments and a million DMs from kids wanting it to be called the JV game of the week. And this has been one. I've got four right now that want to be the JV game of the week next week. And we just kind of go off the field. If the majority of the comments say one game, then we'll go to that game. So it's obviously going to be charged. A lot of kids at Palisades came from Olympic. That's how the school was, pretty much put together. Both of the programs are kind of struggling right now. Olympic, had a bye this week, but before that they were struggling, and then Palisades obviously, losing to South Meck tonight, 35-0. So I think it'll be an emotional game, but then again, I think the coaches are going to control it because they both want to win, and you can't let emotions get the best of you in that situation. So, we'll talk about it more on the show because it is a big game for both of those programs. But those are my early thoughts, on that game. All right. I want to address obviously what happened at Monroe and Forest Hills. If you don't know what happened, Tim Winters, who has covered Union County football for so many years, was there. It was his game of the week, and there were several fights that broke out. Not between the players, but in the stands, near the concession stand, kind of the open areas, things like that. And it was so bad that they shut the game down. First, they suspended the game, trying to get everything calmed down, but then ultimately they decided the game was over in the third quarter with Monroe up 28-0. And one of the things Tim said was nothing happened on the field, nothing between Monroe and Forest Hills on the field. It was just stuff in the stands. And I didn't talk about it last week, but because I kind of got the word after CFI After Dark, but it happened at Harding. Obviously, everybody saw that on the news. And then, West Charlotte had some fighting going on in the parking lot after the game as well. A Channel 9 reporter reached out to me and asked me, do I feel or did I feel or have I ever felt unsafe at Harding? And I told him absolutely not. No. I've never felt unsafe there. But the thing about this stuff is it's gone on for a long time. I remember back when I played, when we were getting ready to play West Charlotte, there were certain things that we talked about, as a team. And we actually had procedures to follow if there was a fight to break out in the stands. There were certain things that we there was a code word that would go out, and we would have to follow a procedure to protect ourselves. It's sad, but this is not, unfortunately, it's not anything new. It's very frustrating, and what can we do about it? There CMS has moved game times to 7 p.m. because of what used to happen back in the day. And I'm talking about like the 80s and early 90s. Games and CMS used to start at 8 p.m. But because of fights and things like that, after games, they moved the time up to 7 p.m. Now, I've read a lot of comments in light of what happened last week. Some people suggesting that they play games on Saturday afternoons or Saturday mornings. I'm not a big fan of that personally, but there are in other places some games are played, during the day on Saturday. Personally, I feel like Saturday is reserved for college football. I don't like Friday night college football games for that reason. But sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And I really hate it. I really hate it, man. We might have to go to a system where only fans of only assigned people that are assigned to the schools are the only ones that are allowed to come. Maybe we limit community, or maybe you limit Um, the number of fans. I mean, there's a number of things you can look at, man. And it's frustrating and it's disappointing because I think high school football is one of the last things that, no matter what race, political leaning, or whatever you are, it brings all types of people together, and it really sucks that the number of a few can ruin it for so many. But people smarter than me will come together and hopefully find a way to try to figure this out, and limit it. I mean, unfortunately, you're not going to eliminate silly things from happening. We know how the world is, but um, for this to happen again, we got to start talking about it, and we got to put a plan together, for sure. And then Coach Hunt also was there, and yeah, yeah. So, let's see, any more comments here? We got Eric Walker, Metrolana. Yeah, Metrolana. I saw they going to 5-1 on the season. That's good stuff. Good stuff from Metrolana. There's so many good teams in Union County. I mean, I want to move them up in the rankings, but everyone down there is just doing a great job in this season. So we'll look at it on the show next week, and we'll see where they stack up, man. What's up, Coach? Good to see you, man. Tim Collins, I saw you on Twitter. I appreciate you tagging me in that. And I appreciate you saying what you did to the other show too, because there's no way I would have picked Sun Valley. There's no way. He knows what I'm talking about. All right. Sean checking in. North Stanley 38-0 over Union Academy. That guy Jay Jackson once again with a big game. 225 yards, 3 touchdowns, 268 all purpose, 3 quarters. Yeah. Do me a favor, Sean. Make sure you send me that on Twitter, so I can, get them recognized for sure, man. Let's see here. There's a lot of people smarter than me. Trust me. Oh man, yeah, that we could talk. We'll talk more about that next week. That's for sure. Shane Klein, what's up? What's up, Shane? Thoughts and prayers for Central Bears. Oh no, yeah, I don't know who that is, but yeah, definitely thoughts and prayers. You know, it's football is such a I mean, it's a tough sport, man. It's a tough sport to play, and you never know. Friday night what that might bring, and definitely our thoughts and prayers will be with that young man, and hopefully he's gonna be okay. That's for sure. Let's see here. Got a couple more. Thank you, Zoom. I see your comment there. Tag me on Twitter with him. I'll check him out. Jonathan Mitchell, Huffingway. Yeah, that'll be another one we talk about next week. I had a conversation tonight. I think that's the game a lot of people are waiting for that are still holding out on West Charlotte, to see if they are really on that upper echelon, that some people are putting them in. So yeah, we'll definitely talk about that game next week. Let's see here. All right. Let's take a look at the scores. I'm gonna kind of switch the view here so you can see the ticker there. There you go. All right, so Raven Gap, that was a big game over Charlotte Christian, 28-13. Anson County over Parkwood, 34-27. We talked about Palisades and South Meck. Oh, Carson beating Concord. Oh, wow, 12-9. That's a big win for Carson. Wow. All right. Shout out to Carson for that. Huff big over West Meck 51-0. Hickory Grove big over Grace Christian 51-0 as well. They continue to remain undefeated on the season. Robinson big over East Roran 49-0. Chambers Harding, that final was 72-0. Chambers over Harding. Oh, my Rams, man. A lot of young kids playing. They're gonna be all right, man. But Chambers, they bounced back from that tough loss last week over Huff. Butler big over East Mac 58-0. South Rowan getting a win. Congrats to them. 29-26 over Central Bears. RGKL over Berry 45-0. We talked about Community School Davidson. Lake Norman Chart over Cabarrus Stallions 26-14. West Charlotte Hopewell, that final was 56-20. West Charlotte over Hopewell. Mallard Creek over North Mac 34-7. Talked about Metrolina. We talked about Mooresville. There's the Indy score. Shelby over Highland Tech. Big. 72-0. Northwest Cabarrus big over West Rowan 49-9. That Northwest Cabarrus J.M. Robinson game still on track to be a big one. Talk about Cox Mill. We talk about Lake Norman. Pine Lake 38-33 over Christ the King. Coach Trotter sent me some stats on this one. We got Gabe Bolivar. I said on the show he was the number 3 rusher in the state. He might be number 1 after tonight. 31 carries for 295 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then senior wide receiver Braden Gower, 4 catches for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. First start of his career. That's good stuff, man. Pine Lake picks another one up in the win column. Providence Dave, big over. That's North Raleigh Christian Academy, 62-10. Charlotte Catholic over Rocky River. I think that was 48-7. I think that was that final. We talked about Porter Ridge over Marvin Ridge. There's that Clover score we mentioned. Newton Conover over East Burke, 34-25. Blythewood over Fort Mill, 27-7. 96. No, that's like Tower Ridge score is not accurate. South Point won that game. I believe it was 31-3. So that's where you got to be careful with Max Preps. If you see something on Max Preps that doesn't look right, always try to check Twitter to verify to make sure. Northwestern beat Lancaster. I do know that. I don't remember the final score offhand. North Stanley over Union Academy. We talked about that. High Brighton in a close one over Freedom, 35-33. Rock Hill over Spring Valley, 44-7. We talked about Crest. Richmond big over Hope County, 41-0. Hopefully they're getting that thing turned around down there. Coach Till is a great guy. Really great guy. Ashbrook over North Gaston. Second win in a row for the Green Wave. 21-13 over North Gaston. And let's see. Watauga's undefeated on the year. That's the team out the mountains going to start talking about. 49-7. East Gaston big over Thomas Jefferson, 56-3. Statesville over Fred T. Ford, 38-15. Mount Pleasant over South Stanley, 41-6. And let's see. Oh, this was a big game. Bunker Hill pulls it out over West Lincoln. That was a pick'em game for us. 21-15. Kings Mountain over Forest View, 49-7. Burns over Bessemer City, 42-7. Hunter Husband, another win, 47-23 over Stuart Kramer. North Rowan wins again over East Davidson. Salisbury big over South Davidson. And that's what we got. All right. So, once again, we checked out York and Indian Land. We'll have a lot of pictures from that game tonight. There was a couple videos we did of the touchdowns that I referenced in the beginning of the show. York pulling that out over Indian Land 28-20. Once again, I'm the Pet Man, Matt Marr. We appreciate everyone being here on CFI After Dark. And everyone that said some things in the comments, I appreciate you doing that. And make sure you just follow up with me on Twitter if I promised you something. I don't know what happened in Chesney. If you guys want to, let me know, or I'll look it up after the show. And but yeah, prayers go out to them, and appreciate all the support as always. All right, so hopefully we'll talk more about the big games next week. We'll talk about RPI, and we'll talk about all these fights, and hopefully there's something that can be done about that. So appreciate everybody watching, staying up late, and hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you again Wednesday night at 7:30, Football Focus Weekly. Night, everybody. Oh man. Oh, that is horrible. That is horrible. Thank you, Jay, to connect. Appreciate that. All right. Prayers. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I see the comments, man. Yeah, prayers go out to Chesney. That's horrible. That is really horrible. All right, guys. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you on Wednesday night.